What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I made my Bury a Friend cover by Billie Eilish using only the Virtual RAV Vast player. So the first thing I did was plan it out. I didn't completely plan it from the beginning, but I started to break it down, figure out how many parts it was going to be, figure out what I needed, get all my gear together, and then go to town. Then I grabbed an MP3. Well, as part of the planning process, really, I got an MP3 of the song and brought it into Soundtrap. And I first had to find the tempo of the song, which is 120, and then set that tempo in Soundtrap and line up the track in Soundtrap to the grid so that I could do my deconstruction into 6 parts. And you can see them here in my Soundtrap project. Here's my Soundtrap project where I just did a deconstruction. First, I did the form and figured out like where the different sections were. And then I did the kick and the snare drum. And then there are the percussion parts. It's just like when those little triplet things happen. 808s right here. And by the way, there's not actually a sound of the 808 in there. It's not like I took an 808. That's just, these are just empty regions for me to know where those were. I did the actual RAV chords so I could know like where the chords fall and like where do they change. And then again, when I recorded, I just had this video up and I just literally just like hit play and played along with it as I recorded, and then made sure that the audio from this was not included in the final product. And then I sat down and learned to play all the parts. The percussion parts were pretty easy. The RAV accompaniment parts were pretty easy, but the melody took more time. So this is my setup that I used to figure out the melody across 3 different RAV drums. So I used this video to learn the melody. I can read sheet music and I could find it that way, but this just allowed me to play along with it, and that way it just saved me time because I could just play along with the video. I still had to start it and stop it as I was learning it and figuring out where all the notes were on the RAV, but when it came time to record it, I basically just hit play on this video and played along with it. So I already knew that I could get a chromatic, basically have a fully chromatic RAV super instrument based on this thing that I made right here, where I basically map out across the keyboard. So this is, in my mind, this is a keyboard, like a piano. And then you can see on the top, that's like a legend up here that shows G pygmy, B rus, A integral, A marmara, and B onoleo. I really actually only needed the G pygmy, B rus, and A marmara. I didn't need to use the other 2. Yeah, and actually really you only need 4 of them. You only need the top 4 to have all the notes from the low G up to the high A, minus low G sharp and A sharp, and you don't have the highest B, but I only needed 3. Anyways, I used that, I sat down, I figured out how to actually play the melody, so I could just do it in one take and play the melody through. Then, after I had everything figured out, I recorded all the parts. So I did an actual video with my iPhone, and then I screen recorded all the devices separately, like each device having its own screen recording. Then I transferred all those files, threw them onto my computer, got all the things together, and put them into Premiere and Ableton. Then I brought all the screen recording videos, which have the actual audio. I didn't use the audio from my iPhone video. I just used the audio from the screen recordings because it sounds a million times better. And so as part of that, you can see my Ableton project here, and you can see I broke it down, and I've got the G pygmy chords as one recording, the B rus as one recording. Basically each of these tracks is a different screen recording from a different device that I recorded. And then little bits, that's tiny little samples from the original track, which in one of the versions I kept, and in another version I didn't, just to make sure I wasn't breaking the rules. And then you can see my kick snare here. and my triplets, 808, and that's basically it. I did a little bit of mixing on the chords. I just did this kind of weird EQ. So I used Ableton to get the audio sounding good, and then I exported that audio file and threw it into Premiere. Then Premiere was where I spent the most of my time, and it was actually kind of a headache putting all those files into Premiere. I had to align everything visually, like the layout of it all, and then I also had to sync everything to make sure that time-wise everything was synced up, and that took quite some time. You can see all my different tracks. Now, of course, everything is lined up, but before it looked like way more messy. I've got each of these different videos. Basically, there's 3 RAVs on the top here that are for the melody. That's what I'm playing right there. I'm playing those 3 RAVs. Then on this video, I'm playing 2. I'm playing a G Pygmy and a B Roos. And that's where those videos are. And then here I'm playing the kick drums, the boom, 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 boom. And then over here on the right, I'm playing just a snare. And I'm literally just tapping my screen with my fingernail, recording that audio with a condenser mic, and then adding some reverb to it. The kicks, I had to do a little bit more work on. I had to do some EQing to get those sounding good. And then the other thing I had to do on the kicks is I had to wear gloves, because if I just used my hand, whenever I would hit the screen, it would move the RAV. So I wore gloves so that it wouldn't register my hands actually touching the screen, but I was still making sound whenever I hit them. And then basically down here I have all the audio from the video screen recordings that I imported, but they're all muted. The only one that's not muted is the actual audio track from Ableton. So that's like the final mix down, this one right here. I used this 9-panel grid right here. Probably can't really see it. Let's see if I turn these other things off. If they're not black. It's hard to see, but I have this 9-panel grid right here that's just basically black lines that go along right here, right here, right there, and right there. And I use that to make sure I can line everything up like super perfectly. And that's it. I'll put a link in the description for how I did the circle crop. I actually can't remember exactly how I did it right now, and I want to give credit to the guy that taught me how to do it on YouTube. So yeah, I definitely recommend using proxies in Premiere and putting everything at the lowest possible playback resolution, just because it'll just eat it up when there's like 9 videos running simultaneously, and my computer can't keep up with that. And then one of the last things I did was circle crop the RAVs. I'll put a link in the description to a YouTube tutorial that I found that showed me how to do that. Basically, it's just a circular crop, and then I made everything else black. And that's it. It sounds simple when I say it all like that, but it took me 2 nights of work. I don't know, maybe a total of 12 hours, something like that. So there you go. That's how I did it. Thanks for watching.